and gentlemen, the King of Swing, Mr. Benny Goodman.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Among the many things I've wanted to do in my musical career, I think one of the first ones in line was to be able to arrange and orchestrate like Fletcher Henderson. Fletcher, if you don't know about him, was one of the great orchestras of the 20s and the early 30s. And The fascination with his arrangements was endless. What I mean is, you heard it the first time, and you hear it again, and you'd always hear something different. And that's why I really thought he was a genius. And that's the reason I'm really dedicating this program to Fletcher Henderson.
The noted American composer, conductor, pianist, and arranger, a close friend and colleague of Benny Goodman, Morton Gould.
You know, Benny is notoriously absent-minded. As an example, one time he jumped into a cab, thought for a moment, and said to the driver, "How much do I owe you?" So you see, Benny can be forgetful. It never occurred to him, for example, that there was any reason why black and white musicians shouldn't appear on the same stage together. Being a good musician was all that counted. And as Benny once said to Lionel Hampton, for a piano to work, it's got to have white keys and black keys. One night, at a party at Red Norvo's house, Benny heard a young black pianist he knew. Soon after, Benny asked the musician to join with him and Gene Krupa to form the famous Benny Goodman Trio. When they performed at an Easter Sunday concert in Chicago in 1936, it was the first time black and white musicians had ever played together before a paying audience. That gifted pianist who helped Benny make history is here with us tonight, Teddy Wilson.
a man who's in love with American popular music. One of our finest cabaret performers, Mr. Bobby Short.
Thank you. As a young boy working in vaudeville, I was billed as the miniature king of swing. But I was just a pretender to the throne. Swing was everything then, and everything began and ended with the great Benny Goodman. He played with all the great instrumentalists. Singers loved him too. On records, you could always hear Benny playing solo behind the likes of Bing Crosby, Ethel Waters, Russ Columbo, Ruth Etting, and Billie Holiday. There's one more singer with whom Benny recorded in those early years, the legendary Bessie Smith. I didn't become familiar with her until I was a teenager, long after her death. Bessie's low-down blues singing wasn't considered proper where and when I was growing up. Bessie Smith was a superstar in the 1920s, but the blues lost their popularity and she stopped recording. In 1933, in November, John Hammond brought her north to record for her last time. It's a tribute to her talent that backing her up were superb musicians as Chu Berry, Buck Washington, Frankie Newton, Jack Teagarden, and Benny Goodman. Here to help us recreate that session, singing one of the songs she recorded that historic day, is one of today's finest blues singers, Carrie Smith.
25 cents. I wouldn't pay 25 cents to go in nowhere. Up in Harlem every Saturday night. The highbrows get together, it's just too tight. They all congregated in all night strut. And what they do is tut, tut, tut. Oh, Hannah Brown comes some way across town, gets full of corn and start drinking it down. Just about the break of day, you could hear old Hannah say, give me a pig foot and a bottle of beer. Send me, I don't care. I feel like I want to clown. Give me Hannah, play a drink because it's bringing me down. He got a rhythm. When he stomps his feet, you know he sends me right off my seat. Check all your razors and your guns. We're gonna be wrestling when the wagon comes. I want a pig foot and a bottle of beer. Send me cause I don't care. I say, kill me cause I don't care. Hey, give me a pig foot and a bottle of beer. Oh, kill me, I don't care. I feel like I want to shout. Give me a play a drink because it's knocking me out. You got a rhythm. Look at, stomps his feet, you know he sends me right off my seat. Check all your razors and your guns. You do the shim, shim, shimmy till the wagon comes. I want a reefer, what? And a whole lot of gin. Kill me cause I'm in my sin. I say, slay me cause I'm full of gin. Thank you very much. Back in 1918, they wrote a funny little song with a funny little title. They called it Jada, and it goes like this. Jada, 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 jing, jing, jing. Jada, 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 jing, jing, jing. Oh, what a cute little melody. It's so soothing and appealing to me. It goes Jada, 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 jing, jing, jing. I say, Jada, Jada, jing, jing, jing. Oh, Jada, Jada. jing, jing, jing. Oh, what a little cute, oh, it's a cute melody. It's so soothing and appealing to me. It goes jada, 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 jing, jing, jing. I say, jada, jada, jing, jing, jing. Now, you haven't heard anything until you hear the saxophones play jada. Did you enjoy the saxophone? You haven't heard anything till you hear the brass do jada. Jana, 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 jing, jing, jing. Oh, what a little fun and melody. It's so soothing and appealing to me. It goes Jana, 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 jing, jing, jing. Ah, Jana, Jana, jing, jing, jing. Now you've heard the saxophones. You heard the brass. You've heard me sing it. Now it's your turn. Here we go. You ain't singing. Oh, what a sweet little melody. It's so soothing and appealing to me. You're
между представителями симфонической и джазовой музыки существуют почти такие же непримиримые противоречия, как между Западом и Востоком. Однако посмотрите, как слаженно музыканты симфонического оркестра украинского радио играют Моцарта вместе с Бенни Гудманом, случайно заглянувшим на их репетицию. Оказывается, когда радушие и добрая воля берутся за дело, противоречия становятся не такими уж непримиримыми. Больше 10 тысяч человек собралось в Киевском концертном зале, чтобы послушать программу Бенни Гудмана. Как видите, на Украине, как, впрочем, и в других республиках, где побывали американские артисты, им не приходилось жаловаться на отсутствие интереса со стороны публики. Когда артиста хорошо встречают перед началом концерта, это еще можно отнести за счет рекламы. Но когда его провожают после концерта, так как провожали киевляне Бенни Гудмана, это уже другое дело.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Benny Goodman Quartet.
Louis Bellson at the drums. Dick Hyman at the piano. And Slam Stewart at the bass.
Well, a flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A fly joy, fly joy, fly joy, oh boy. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A fly joy, fly joy, fly joy, oh boy. Now if you're feeling low down, you don't know what to do. Now if you want a showdown, is the only dance you should do. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. Fly joy, fly joy, fly joy, fly joy. We want yum yum. Oh well, ba-ba-do-da-dum. Yum boom do-do, ba-do, ba-do, ba-do-da-da-ba-da-ba-do-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Ma-da-da-da-da-da. Boom-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now if you're feeling low down, don't know what to do, if you want to show down, me and you, oh boy, a flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A fly joy, fly joy, fly joy, fly joy, fly joy, fly joy, fly joy. There's a flat-foot, a little bitty foot, a whole lot of foot. Pig's foot, tenderfoot, rabbit's foot, athlete's foot. Wait a minute. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. A flat-foot floozy with the fly, fly. Fly joy, 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 fly joy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I have come to just say a few words regarding Benny as part of who became part of my life some years ago, not too far from here, as a matter of fact, just a couple of blocks. Yeah, and firstly, I'd like to say that I, like you, the rest of you, adore what this man does. I think he's, without a doubt, the most consummate musician I've ever heard. Sometime around 1941, somewhere like that. I don't remember exactly, but very quickly, I was working in a theater in New Jersey, where we're speaking again. And I was told by the manager of the theater that many of the scouts from all of the houses in New York, such as the Paramount, the Strand, the Roxy, and so on, Low State, in those days where they had vaudeville, and that they had come to view me, the boy singer from the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra, and that the commentary was the same in every case. They said, he's a band singer. And then a gentleman named Bob Whiteman, who managed the New York Paramount Theater, came to see me at the last performance at night, about 10 o'clock at night, and he called me at home at about midnight, and he said, how would you like to, this was on my birthday, as a matter of fact, on the 12th of December, he said, how would you like to open at the Paramount Theater on December 31st, New Year's Eve morning? I thought that's a pretty strange time to go open any place. But it was true. And he said, we have a Crosby movie and Benny Goodman and his orchestra. And then for 15 minutes I fell on the floor and then said, I'd be delighted to take the job. Now, I must take a second to tell you that I imagine that Benny is a man who, well, I know now, after knowing him these years, he's a very introverted man. He's quiet, he's sensitive, gentle, and he didn't pay much attention to what had been happening outside of his world of music. And what was happening then when the kids were falling down in the street and in the theater. And consequently, he didn't know what to expect, and neither did I swear to you. I didn't expect anything like it. So the orchestra, there was another act on the bill and so on and so forth, and then Benny and the orchestra did their version of Sing, Sing, Sing. And then he turned around and he said, as I was standing in the little kind of disguised hut, he said, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Sinatra. And he turned around and gave a downbeat like this, and the biggest yell went up in the theater, and it scared me and scared everybody in the room. And I was trembling at the time because this was my great chance. And with his back to the audience and his arms upraised ready for a downbeat, he turned around and looked at nobody. He said, what the hell is that? And I tell you, in all honesty, if he hadn't done that, I would have shaken through 3 songs because I was so frightened of being up there alone without the Pied Pipers and 16 other singers and a big orchestra and all that jazz. But when he said that, I started to grin, and instead of fainting through the song, I laughed through 2 songs after that. I laughed through 2, first chorus of Me and My Gal and all those other things. But nevertheless, what I wanted to say is that it was a wonderful way to break into our business in a huge sense, you might say, which eventually became a huge sense, for which I'm very grateful to many, many people, but particularly for Benny, because he said, what the hell is that? God bless you, Benny, and keep playing. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hello. This is a very exciting night for me. One of my proudest moments in my whole career was when I sang with the Benny Goodman Sextet, so it's great to be here. You know, there were a lot of ladies who sang with Benny, people like Helen Forrest and Ella Fitzgerald and Mildred Bailey. They all sounded fantastic, and how could you miss with Benny and his musicians backing you up? I'd like to single out 3 singers in particular. These 3 ladies are an inspiration to me. Helen Ward was the first singer to perform with the Goodman Band. She was there through the bad times when the band was struggling for success, and she was there when they had their first big success. Helen's gorgeous with a relaxed, sassy swinging style that was very unusual in those days. A few years later, when Benny was doing his Camel Caravan radio show, he spotted a woman in the chorus. She was a Texas teenager, a cute blonde with a great voice. She joined the Goodman Band and became known as Lilton Martha Tilton. And then there was Peggy Lee. She was just a kid when Benny discovered her in Chicago in 1941, but what a performer. Peggy is a legend, an international star. She's a superb singer and a true musician. And she learned from Benny. So here's to the ladies. What a trio. These 3 tunes are dedicated to them. It's an honor to sing them for you. Somebody else is taking my place. Somebody else now shares your embrace. While I am trying to keep from crying, you go around with a smile on your face. Little you care how much I have paid. Little you care for vows that you made. My heart is aching, soon will be breaking, for somebody's taken my place. Somebody is taking my place. Somebody shares your embrace. While I am trying to keep from crying, you go around with a smile on your face. Little you care how much I have paid. Little you care for vows that we made. My heart is aching, soon we'll be breaking, for somebody's taking my place. Yes, somebody's taking my place. You turned the tables on me, you turned the tables on me. I can't believe that we're through. I always thought when you brought the lovely presents you bought, why hadn't you brought me more? But now if you'd come, I'd welcome anything from the 5 and 10 cent store. You used to call me the top. You let me fall with a drop, and now I'm out on my own. But after thinking it over and over, I got what was coming to me. Just like the sting of a bee, you turned the tables on me. When you brought the lovely presents you bought, why hadn't you brought me more? But now if you come, I'd welcome anything from the 5 and 10 cent store. You used to call me the top. You put me up on a throne. You let me fall with a drop. just like the sting of a bee. You turn the tables on me. We meet and the angels sing. The angels sing the sweetest song I ever heard. You speak and the angels sing. Or am I breathing music into every word? Suddenly the setting is changed. I can see water with moonlight beaming, silver waves that break on some undiscovered shore. Then suddenly I see it all change. Long winter nights with the candles gleaming. Through it all your face that I adore. You smile and the angels sing. And though it's just a gentle murmur at the start, we kiss and the angels sing, and leaves their music ringing in my heart. Business like show business like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing. Everything the traffic will allow. Where else can you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow? There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Even look with turkey that you know will fold. You may be stranded out in the cold. Still you wouldn't change it for us to sack it gold. Let's go on with the show. Yeah. The scenery, the makeup, the props, the audience that lifts you when you're down. The headaches, the heartaches, the backaches, the flops, the sheriff who escorts you out of town. The opening when your heart beats like a drum. The closing when the customer customers won't come. There's no business like show business like no business I know. Traveling through the country can be thrilling. Standing out in front on opening nights. Smiling as you watch the theater filling. And as you're billing up there in lights. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Yesterday they told you you would not go far. That night you open and there you are. Next day on your dressing room they've hung a star. Let's go on with the show. Let's go on with the show.
Not very many men become legends in their lifetime, but Benny Goodman is one of them. In the 20s, while still a boy, he was part of the Chicago School of Jazz, which included such names as Louis Armstrong and Bix Beiderbecke. In the 30s, Benny Goodman organized his own band, and he became the king of swing. And now in the 50s, Benny Goodman records are selling better than they ever did before. More than 35 million Goodman records have been sold. Benny, with his talented clarinet, still swings as king with his small jazz outfit. Benny Goodman, his wife Alice, and their children live in this modernized early American house at Stamford, Connecticut.
Would you like to meet him then?
I would indeed.
Here we are, and this is my daughter Benji, my wife Alice, and my daughter.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
Mrs. Goodman, I was going to ask Benny this, but I think I'll ask you instead. Does he really practice very much?
Well, there seems to be a slight difference of opinion in the family, and I've known to tell you that some years ago, I thought Benny was practicing really rather inordinate amount, hours a day, and so I said to him, don't you ever get bored and tired practicing hour after hour? And he said, it's very odd, you know, you should ask me that, because I was practicing today in the living room, I looked out of the window, and there you were, in the hot sun, digging in the garden, and I said to myself, the girl must be out of her mind. So I said, touche, and we've let it go with that.
Rachel, Benji, do you like music too?
Yes. Yes.
Benji, I hear that you're something of a painter, is that right?
Well, this is what I made for Daddy last Christmas. I made the picture and
Mommy?
And Mommy turned it into an ashtray.
Oh, a very nice ashtray too, Benji. Very nice. Rachel,
Yes.
I know that you and your dad play duets at home sometimes. Why don't the two of you now try your hand at rocking Stamford and the rest of the country?
Okay.
How about Rachel?
All right.
All right, Rachel. Our first appearance on television. Ready?
president of Yale University, A. Bartlett Giamatti.
Good evening. 5 or 6 years ago, Benny Goodman and I met and had lunch, and we've been friends ever since. We always have a lot to say to each other, in part at least because Benny is profoundly interested in education. Indeed, he thinks of himself as a lifelong student. I think of him as a universal teacher. Benny, in my role tonight as house academic, I tried to do a little research. First, the less than good news. The Italian composer Scarlatti said woodwinds are never in tune. And when the English organist Charles Burney heard the great Mannheim Orchestra in the 18th century, he wrote, "There is a want of truth in the wind instruments. They corrupt all harmony." Well, the good news is that woodwinds, especially clarinets, sound much better now than they did 200 years ago, and that's largely due to Benny Goodman. When Yale conferred upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Music in 1982, the citation, at least in part, read, "Benny Goodman, premier clarinetist of the century, musician for whom Bartók, Copland, and Hindemith wrote compositions, creative artist, your solo improvisations have been savored and studied by countless music lovers." Well, later that year, Yale's good judgment, I'm delighted, was seconded when Benny Goodman was selected as a recipient of the Kennedy Center Honors for Life Achievement. The night of the ceremony in Washington, D.C., Goodman was paid tribute by Andre Previn, who narrated this summation of Benny's remarkable life.
A poverty-ridden ghetto on Chicago's West Side in 1909 seemed an unpromising place for a future musical king to be born. But by the time he was 12, he was nursing his ambitions and honing his talent. At a hard-earned 25 cents a lesson, he studied classical music and played in synagogues and settlement houses on the instrument of his choice. In the 20s, Chicago was a mecca for the jazz greats of the day. He soaked up their sounds and practiced what he'd heard. By 16, he was playing Chicago club dates and dances. Word got around that he was good. In 1929, he went to New York, burdened, as he said, with family responsibilities, empty pleasures, and frequent joblessness. He got a few radio dates and organized his own band. When the band got its first big break and a national radio audience, he took them on the road. Their cross-country tour, a series of punishing one-nighters, was a disaster. Benny was about to call it quits, till they got to L.A. Here, he and the band began to find their audience, kids who loved the sound and the driving beat. The band caught on. Around New York's Paramount Theater, lines stretching for blocks. People dancing in the aisles. Their response was spontaneous and happy. Swing was here. The swing era had truly arrived, and they couldn't wait to crown their king. Benny insisted on the highest standards for his sidemen. If that meant breaking the color line, so be it. In 1936, he hired Lionel Hampton and Teddy Wilson. Years later, Benny shattered another tradition and made jazz history. Though the size of the turnout was reassuring, Benny... Equally at ease with Mozart or Brahms, he brought the same sense of thorough musicianship, flawless technique, and rich, warm tone to every kind of music he played. And he had the respect and admiration of his musical contemporaries, classical or jazz. He became an unofficial American ambassador, and wherever his travels took him, the warmth and enthusiasm of the response showed that the king truly spoke a universal language. Benny Goodman brought excitement, color, and vigor to an emotionally depressed America in the 30s. He reached an audience who wanted to find release, reason to hope, happy sounds. Today, wherever it's heard, his sound, unblemished and appealing as ever to the ear, still speaks, directly and eloquently, to the human heart.